US vs China trade war 2025 heats up. Trump raises import tariffs to 125%. China retaliates, global economy threatened. The international world is buzzing about the trade war between the United States, US, and China in 2025. This emerged after the President of the United States, Donald Trump, imposed high import tariffs on countries including China. What is a trade war? Here is the explanation and the latest news. Donald Trump announced reciprocal tariffs on a number of countries that have been exporting products to the United States. These high import tariffs have left a number of countries in disarray. China, as one of the countries subject to a 34% import tariff, retaliated against the US by also raising US import tariffs on China. Not accepting this, President Trump immediately retaliated by imposing an even higher import tariff of 125% on Chinese goods entering the US. What is a trade war? Based on the explanation on the Britannica page, a trade war is an economic conflict between two or more countries that involves restrictions on international trade, such as high import tariffs, import quotas, and investment restrictions. This trade war could disrupt the global supply chain, increase costs, and slow economic growth. Import tariffs are usually set high to encourage people to choose and use local products that are cheaper than imported products. Since 2018, the US has raised import tariffs on goods from China. At that time, Chinese President Xi Jinping did not remain silent. He also instructed his staff to raise import tariffs on US goods. The 2 years of trade conflict ended with the Phase 1 agreement signed by Trump and Xi Jinping. As the two largest countries that can also be said to dominate the world economy, the trade war between the United States and China could have a domino effect. The impact is not only felt by the two countries, but also by other countries, including Indonesia. The threat of inflation to a slowdown in the world economy could occur if the trade war between the US and China continues. On the ex-White House account, it was emphasized that US President Donald Trump announced that the United States was giving a 90-day pause for the implementation of the reciprocal tariff. In addition to the 90-day break, there is a reduction in import tariffs of 10% from what was previously announced for other countries except China. Trump emphasized that China will still be subject to reciprocal tariffs of 125% and will be effective immediately. Trump explained his reasons for continuing to impose high tariffs on China because he said China did not show good faith by not calling the White House as other countries had done. In response, representatives of the Chinese government asked Trump to completely cancel his reciprocal tariffs. "We urge the US to take major steps to correct its mistakes, completely cancel the wrong practice of reciprocal tariffs, and return to the right track of mutual respect," explained a representative from the Chinese Ministry of Commerce in a statement. Indonesia ready to import US agricultural products to reduce Trump tariffs. The government will facilitate licensing and incentives for US companies operating in Indonesia. The Indonesian government met with the United States, US, government to discuss US President Donald Trump's tariff policy. As a result, the Indonesian government plans to continue buying agricultural products and increase purchases of capital goods from the US. Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs, Airlangga Hartarto, said that the results of the meeting with the US government, Indonesia will increase energy purchases from Uncle Sam's country. Some of them are LPG, oil, and fuel oil. Also, Indonesia plans to continue to buy agricultural products, including wheat, soya bean milk, he said during a virtual press conference, Friday, April 18, 2025. And also Indonesia will increase purchases of capital goods from America, he continued. Airlangga guaranteed that the government is ready to facilitate US companies that have been operating in the country. His party will later facilitate licensing and provide incentives for US companies in Indonesia. To the US government, the Indonesian government also offers cooperation related to minerals and facilitates the import of products from the US. Airlangga also encouraged the US government to invest in the country. Indonesia also encourages the importance of strengthening cooperation in the human resource development sector, including for the education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, digital economy sectors, explained Airlangga. And of course Indonesia also raised the issue of financial services that tend to benefit the United States, he continued. He added that for 90 days after Trump's tariff delay, export tariffs continued to increase. For example, there was an additional 10% for garment textile products. Thus, the total increase in export tariffs for garment textile products reached 47%. So, this is also a concern for Indonesia because with this additional 10%, our export costs are higher because the additional costs are requested by buyers to be shared with Indonesia, not only the buyers who pay the tax, explained Erlangga.